Bricks and Minifigs is your one-stop shop for all things LEGO. Hit the link below to find a store near you.
Hi, I'm Martin from Alabama, and this is my Lego build of the Disneyland castle, fairy tale castle, in California in the United States of America. And I built it specifically to have it unveiled here at Atlanta Brick Con. And I hope you're enjoying what you're looking at.
It is spectacular here, obviously extremely iconic. So how did you decide to go with the California castle?
Yeah, so actually, really serious question. So I've been thinking about this since March. The Paris one, the Florida one, and this one. This one's not been built on this scale, first of all, nor had Paris. The challenge was that Paris was going to be really big, right? So that kind of got kicked out of that aspect. The second challenge to that was that I didn't know how I could build the other one. I figured I could build this one better. The third one, though, the third reason is if you look in the tower here, you're going to see Sleeping Beauty, and she's got a wheel. So I'll walk around here. Okay. And this replica isn't currently here. This is the oldest piece of Lego I've ever made that I currently have, and it was built for my first ever Lego show where I built a Princess Aurora build for my daughter, Maggie, who was maybe 5 or 6, and so I thought, this goes well with here, and then we add in, hey, it's 100 years of Disney, and that was 27th of February or January, they announced everything, so I dropped my images on the 28th because I thought it would be really good.
Yes. No, fantastic. You got to know when to market the build as well.
That's what I do for a job.
So then we can dive into the details here. So with a whole layout like this, where did you start with? How did it kind of come together?
Yeah, so Neil wanted the minifigure scale of it. So the very first thing, if we walk to the very front of the castle, which, by the way, was the original back of the castle, that's not hard to understand. So there's 2 windows, and the top window is the first one that I did. And I had to scale that and go down to this cross in the middle of the castle bit there. And then I went down to the archway. And I'd actually scaled it twice the size to get the window how I wanted it, which means this build would have been twice as big, which would be great, right? Yeah, that's brilliant. It's not, actually. That's not the goal. So I started there, rolled down, and I made the build an awful lot harder than I wanted to. So it's really easy to build on even numbers. So this is built on odd numbers. So I'm maybe 15 or 16 studs across, which puts the math off terribly all over the whole thing.
And was that on purpose or just kind of happened like that?
100% on purpose
Okay.
to get the window in alignment with the cross and in alignment with the archway. So that was it, and then I just built everything out. So I bought a book on Disneyland that I found, and original images of Walt Disney, and he's in the background with the castle when it was released, and the layout, and I built it based off a perspective which Martin always does from a child's eye view, but we'll call it Walt's eye view, right? And he looks in and looks at the castle, and I built it based off that. Then, I just looked at what I normally do, which is like Pinterest. People built paper copies to try to get angles and views that I really couldn't get anywhere else. But the biggest challenge with building with anything in Disney, I'm rewarded because all the colors there, right? It's iconic, but they build this in forced perspective. So I've got to figure out, well, how do I build something in forced perspective? Our eye sees this, but it's not really that way, and to be seen as well. So that became really, really challenging. I think I got it quite right, got the angles and the lines quite right. Well, I know I did, so yeah.
It certainly looks very impressive from here, and you've got tons of minifigures out here. So what are some of the scenes and kind of details that you were able to include out in this section?
I'm so glad that you noticed after 2 months of building the minifigures. Thank you for that. So I didn't put any of these scenes out myself at all because I get distracted and a lack of focus. But it's filled with multiple characters, positioned specifically to drive the eye. Little stories going on. No one's going to see everything. There's characters from my Instagram community, my little Lego community that I have. You've got Disney characters doing their own thing. Then you've got random people as well. But it's all designed to make you look here, there, and further on elsewhere, which is what I really like to do with my builds. Move you around it.
And then you've got the great detail even in the water there with the Disney logo as well, which I think is a nice little detail.
Yeah, so that's a hidden Mickey. It's no longer hidden, so that's just Mickey. It's iconic for Disney to do hidden Mickeys in their builds, and there's multiples in here. So at the very front, at the gatehouse, as you look up in the actual build of the castle, the fort that's the crest, I think the Disney crest. But I made that into a hidden Mickey. We have the hidden Mickeys in the water, from that aerial view. And I had to decide, what way do I face them? Do I face them in the way that they're looking, which is not straight onto the castle or straight on? And I figured that if they're straight on, no one's going to see them, or they'll see them too obviously if they do see them. So I'll tuck them around the corner so you were rewarded by looking over here and you're like, I've seen the swan and there's a Mickey. That's fun. Maybe there's more Mickeys around. And there are. And try to keep you at the build, keep you engaged. And when the public come, they feel happy spending their money to come in and like, I got my dollar's worth on this one. I spent an hour here. Yeah.
You want to create kind of an experience for the viewers. They're walking all the way around the build.
Your live viewers here and your online viewers as well. I want to have that experience for them. Exactly. That's what I try to do in all my builds. So yeah.
So I know the minifigures were the hardest part for you, but we'll go back to the castle now as well. So one part that definitely catches your eye here is all the various kind of roof techniques that you had to incorporate, which are not an easy thing to do. So take us through kind of some of the domes and the different angles there.
Yeah, so actually this leads into the question of why did I do this one? And there's 13 or 14 different size domes. So now I've got a bank of different ways of building for different towers. So if I was to go to the Paris one, which is the most beautiful one of them all, I've already got everything planned out, so it becomes a quicker build. And then we've got the roof lines, right? Disney don't make things easy for Lego builders at all. And the main thing I had to source was all these blue roof parts. But the angle and the math, I'm really pleased. We talk about those lines. I want to talk about the lines in my bridges down here, which I had to get the angle there right, and there are slopes, studs, everything in every angle that you can to get the iconic shapes and lines that you want. But that was actually the real fun challenge of it. How do I make this work? I took up the world supply of, I will point out, those turrets, because I needed 2, and I had 1, so I went on Bricklink and bought all the ones because I didn't know how long they get there. Then Atlanta Brick Co. had a ton of them, so I bought them from them. And that kind of helped my shaping a little bit for the ones that I couldn't get quite right. But so I've got more of those, so I could build another castle if I want to. Yeah.
There you go. One thing at a time, though.
Thank you.
Now, it's obviously your eye is kind of drawn to the pink and the blue section, but just the gray, kind of more classic, traditional castle part is also very impressive. And once you start to look at this, not an easy section either. So how did kind of those turrets and those towers come together? Yeah,
so the challenge with this, right, this castle is meant to be grey and blue. It's a very blue tone. And I started actually looking at it as a blue tone, but it didn't look right. So you have to make an artistic impression on it. So in the back of the castle, where you're actually currently looking at the moment, you see all these little blue accents and the lines. That's to make your eye blend with that grey to give you that effect right in the back. But yeah, so the typical turret that I've always built is like a 1x2 brick and then a 1x1 round, and you get this little pattern. I built Rapunzel.
Brick bending type idea.
Correct, yeah, so this is actually used, the majority of things I have is 1x2 plates, and that gives us this nice chunky look here. And they're 3 plates stuck together. And there's 12,000 of them in this build that I had to connect together whilst watching Netflix. But then I had to spread it out because the towers were going to be that, and I had to kind of put it in the walls and mix it with a bit of masonry. Because I want that look of, it's cohesive. Very hard thing to do. Yeah.
No, but it turns out really, really nice. And so that does kind of take us to this side of the castle then. So what are some of the kind of the details and the goal with the layout over here?
Yes, this was my final part of how do I finish this off, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do. So I'm actually going to take you and drive you inside. And if you look inside, so it's lit with a couple of light-ins because I was challenged by Beyond the Brick to light some of my builds, but to drive the eye, you've got these 2 chandeliers there. And if you look to the left and the right, if you were to go to this castle, as you come out this way to the right, you have this nice mural painting. You'll see some Belleville pieces that have been lit up that are it's actually Snow White's castle on a painting in a wall, and then a Mickey and Minnie on the right-hand side as well. All the way in there. There we go. And get on in there without knocking down the lamps, which you could because they're not very good. But anyway, so then the back, it's okay, I've got this massive space. How do I fill it? The trees are iconic. Okay, I was okay, well, I'll just put more in than it should be. My whole aim is to get the viewer to do this, right? So I've angled my lamps here. The sword and stone would be further back here. I pulled it in. My eyes here. I'm driven here. So it's all designed to do little things. And it's all of a sudden I've got a fountain here. There's certain fake doors in this castle. The one that's lit up is not lit up, is a fake door. I'll show you fake doors around the front in a little bit as well. But that's the whole idea here. I had a Maleficent dragon built, and I thought that would look great. It was a quick fix, but it just didn't look right for that experience of coming around here. If you came around there's a dragon, I'll walk off. I need to make sure you stayed here and started looking at things as well. I'm okay, I got value for what I'm doing here.
I love this little cart detail here as well. And those are those prints or old stickers on there?
Uh-huh. So thank you. The very last thing I built was that. And on Instagram, someone had sent me a video of the castle they just walked through, and I'd seen pictures of this in loads of Disney literature, like in books and magazines, but it's always covered up. So I never knew what it was, so I had been building one. And I was like, oh, I'm glad you sent me that video because I realized I'd done it wrong. I'll actually pick it up, shall I? Because it's mainly built upside down, so pink, there's not a lot of Lego pieces, so I had to build it upside down. It's fairly accurate. These come from the new custom minifigure, I think. And I have the whole notion of, yeah, you've got the pink castle, the little girls come along, or boys, and buy the little knight's costume and the little hobby horse. There's a little hobby horse stand that's here. Didn't want to build a stand. I was like, I'll just add it in this way. But this came from one of the minifigure sets, and yeah, it's completely upside down build. Yeah, I really like it. I'm glad you pointed it out.
You're able to make great use of those arches that way. That works really well.
Yeah, really. And that's kind of one of the things, though, right? When we're building, it's like, am I restricted by my pieces? And I was restricted by them. And so it forced me to be like, okay, what can I do differently? And I'm trying to adapt to that, like buy less Lego and use more of what I have to get that effect.
And you mentioned the trees earlier, which I've seen a lot of Lego trees over the years, but you definitely don't see this type of a tree look very often here.
Yeah, so that's iconic. So the Disneyland Paris castle, the iconic bit on the cliff is these shaped trees, square trees. And then they're more so in Disneyland, California, I believe. Your viewers will tell me I'm wrong when I say there aren't many at Florida, and rightly so, but unless I'm correct. And then you say I'm correct, that's great. But yeah, so they're box trees, and I'll show you how I made these. Pull one out. So these just sit on here like this, and the wedge is in place. Remember, Lego doesn't have to stick together. And then we've just got a lot of detail up there I mean, these pieces are not that attractive, but I can wiggle vines through, and I think it's authentically looking for what they should be like, and there's a little bit of variance in each one of them. But yeah, it's a different shape, right? You wouldn't want back here a big fluffy tree. Right. We've got nice architecture, and I think there's 2 of these trees back here. Again, I haven't been. Maybe Disney would like me to go and have a look so I can get it right. That would be great. Yeah.
If anyone from Disney is watching this video, feel free to reach out to Martin.
That would be nice. Yeah.
But this is certainly incredible. So is this whole section, like the castle section, what is kind of holding that all down, or do you just kind of set that on top of the broader kind of water base area?
Okay, so what I'm not going to do is take it apart because I've done it before and I think I have to put it back together. Okay, the main boards, it splits into 2. And then the grey castle moves out, the pink comes off. Okay. I will show you some little bits, so would you like to see that?
Yes, of course.
Okay, let's do it. So I'm going to move some turret walls over here. Before we do this, so this has a few things from my daughter in it. This technique had been shared on Instagram, that's my nails, Instagram and Facebook, like little stained glass window, and I tried to do it, and I couldn't do it, and then my daughter walks in, and she's like, Dad, look what I found. Look what I've done. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So you've got 3 or 4 of these dotted around the castle. I was like, that's a nice little touch that she's got here. But
It's like the cheese slope kind of technique, right? Yeah, that's so cool.
Well, if you can do it, and I can't do it. So
someday, if you keep building, Martin.
I'll try. But anyway, here, let me show you a few things, yeah? So that comes off. We go, this little bit here comes off.
You can see there aren't a lot of stud attachments. It's really just kind of sitting on top of there.
That's right. And then we're going to take the other one off as well. Oh, here's a hidden Mickey, by the way. If you look from this angle, to think like get like kids view, I built you see it in the lamppost. You've got the little ball and the 2 ears. There's more. I forgot I did that one. There's probably another one the other side just like it, and then that bit comes off there. So that's what these side walls look like. These bits I've taken off are probably the least accurate part from the front side, but I had to change that to have the forced perspective look. And then I'll walk around here and show you a couple of tower things.
Perfect. I love the behind the scenes look.
So I'm going to pull this bit off. I'm looking where my feet are under the table. Let me get my shoes off.
Good footing.
Yeah, that is. That's all it's about, is good footing. So one of the pieces that I use the most in this are these, I guess, I don't know what that is.
Like a rail type piece.
There we go. And that kind of cuts those angles, but gave me the lines I needed specifically for this castle. So we get that one down. And then we're going to pull this one off to give you a look in there. But when I've done that, but the cut of the wedge and everything is that took the longest on the roof to get that pretty seamless in there. And I was really pleased with that. Like, I really struggled on that and got it where I needed to in the end. I'm going to put it back on before I forget. Hold on.
Oh, we got characters flying off.
No, she fell. She didn't fly.
Oh, okay. trying to keep it, flying like in the story.
Thank you. That's probably best. All right, let me stick this little bit on. So, and actually, what you'll see is this actually wedges in as well. That that's the level of build detail in there. Oh, I'm from the wrong angle. Here we go. So you're going to notice that this wedges in between these two, so it can't move that much, and that was purposeful, for fun. That one just pops off, and you can see the inside how I cut it off. So it's completely solid in there, right? So transporting, I always want things heavy and solid. All Lego, 211 pounds in weight. So we figured it's the heaviest build I've ever made. So most mass. And one of the details of Disney, Walt Disney was like, hey, the park's never finished. So on this castle, I'm not sure which turret, one of them doesn't have a gold spire, so that one doesn't have a gold spire, it's bronze instead of gold. So those little touches are there. I'll pull this one off while we're here. And so you see that, so it wedges into place. But you'll see I've just used this wheel thing to gently apply pressure to attach these in. They're on hinges, I'm not going to open them up. So there was a lot here. I'm going to show you these other little turrets.
So it's about finding kind of those certain pieces that you can creatively use to keep some of these structures together.
Yeah, and so you have all these gold leaves that are going to sit under here. So what we have is like a wheel logged in, and then this just slides on and slips into place. And that gave me what I wanted to do as well. So, yeah.
That is perfect, yeah. It's so cool to see kind of more of the behind the scenes and how that comes together.
So here we go there, and I'm going to show you this nice lip here. Oh, you'll see how that just didn't connect very well. I should do better. So these little rails are actually just connected in with pressure with cheese slope in here, and then some plates, and it cuts that seam differently than this seam up here because the width is off. And so again, all of these are, if it needs to be a different angle or scale or something, I had to figure out a way to do it. I didn't really want to just not be accurate on that. We'll go with this bit first.
You can see it just comes together very easily, right?
Yeah, it does. And then you have to put minifigures on.
Not a tree, but I actually wanted to...
It killed the turtles.
Oh, no.
It killed the turtles. And the Cheshire Cat's smiling, so I think he did it.
There you go. It's all canon now. It's part of the story.
That's that's animation. Movie stuff for you. We've gone to another level here.
I did want to ask you, because we talked about the very boxy trees, but we definitely need to mention some of these other fantastic trees out front here. So What can you tell us about some of these?
Yeah, so these two I've shown before. They've been in other ones, so maybe your viewers can go back and watch your other videos to see them. So I won't show those ones now. Maybe you can put a link in the description to find them. But these ones I will show you. Oh, actually, so my friend Nicole has been asking what tree she built. She built this one. So let me walk over here. No, I won't. I'll show you the one she built. Because I didn't build this, I don't believe, but I think she put it together. So this is using those same pieces I used for the box tree, and you'll see I've closed those gaps up there with the studs, and we've just kind of made it like that and a little bit floppy, and not worried about making it huge, right? It just needs to be like a canopy cover, and then it slots into place just here, and it's kind of like, I haven't gone for perfection covering up, just stick some flowers in the way. And then it goes. There we go.
Yeah. Just stick it right on there.
Stick it right on. It's been pretty stable. I think I've got to where trees they stay together. Simple one over here. There's a connection point. It's not my idea for the tree. So I'll move it first one that you see. So the way I've just connected this in here. So this tree is not unique to me at all, but it's taken the flex tube in, putting it through the leaves and attaching it to both at different angles to create that width, wrapping more of this other stuff around, but it's putting those clips on and just using a bracket, and then it attaches into place real simple, and Bob's your uncle. There he is. Yeah. Churro cart, I think is what you say.
Yes.
I think it's accurate, but there's no churros in it. But at the end of the day, they've all been eaten. Yeah. That's some of the main details around it, but this does fit another one of my drives to bring something to just be happy. Disney's happy. It's so full of color, and I've enjoyed watching here. I like standing here, and I'll have a little child who's like, "Oh, Mum, Dad, look at that." Then I'll have this big guy be like, "Oh, look at that," to his friend, and I'll turn to the big guy. I'm like, I just got both of you right here, right? Which is what I'm trying to get. I'm trying to get something for everyone, and I think maybe a year ago I said, yeah, I might do a few more Star Wars things, that might be it. But last year I was like fully committed on Disney, and I'll try to add more that's, oh, let me show you up here. I'll get back to that. I'd like to add more that's not really been done how I want to do it. You'll see more of this little gold piping down there is that same hose that was wrapped around the tree, and the way I've angled it has prevented this roof at the front popping off. Okay. So again, I know I need to have the detail, and I've used that detail to also be purposeful as well. But yeah.
That works super well. So when you got to the show, what was set up like? Because you said, what, people helped with the minifigures and everything?
Yeah, so it turned out to be a nice community one, right? So a joke that I don't like to put them out, but you know, I build this is my build, but it's like out there in the public domain now. Someone was telling me, I think James Butte was telling me that, like my Rapunzel set, it's not mine, it's in the public domain, kind of. And so we're here, and I got a lot of people around who aren't doing anything, and bunch of people from Instagram, bunch of friends like, you want to build? And all of a sudden here we are, and we have Holly on film on, and Ryan standing here, and then you've got Nicole and Jean and all these others just building. And I'm like, have fun at it. And I don't know, it's like proud papa moment in a way. Yeah.
And yeah. I love your focus on community with what you do online and everything, and with your builds. So for people who aren't familiar with your content online and kind of what you've done, talk a little bit more about that and how you incorporate your builds into what you do.
Yeah, so Instagram's where I live, right? I haven't got time for YouTube. I don't do it well enough, but you know, I'm really driving towards what I'd call more of a Disney market, so go beyond Lego. And as I post something, I'm really enjoying having people who, if you look at their page, they don't like Lego, but then all of a sudden they love Disney, and oh, I also like Lego. And so getting those people involved has been really useful, but also getting people who don't know where to go or where to belong when they come to a show or online, and you know, so grabbing people. And I think I've done a good job of finding people who want to try to build and mark and involve them where they normally wouldn't want to do it. And I enjoy doing that, right? And I've used Instagram for that, and the more I can do it in person and move it that way, and you'll probably see something at Brick World Chicago this year, then I will. So yeah.
I love that. So will this build continue to make a circuit to other shows, or what's the plans for this one?
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to Chicago. That's the only one for builds that I have on my schedule this year. I want to do a little bit more building. I've got, as always, I want to do this, I want to do that. Well, I do have things I'm going to do to kind of complement my whole Disney setup. So yeah, but definitely go there. And it's one that I'm like, this is my favorite build I've ever made. It really is. It's my favorite.
That's saying something. You've built a lot of incredible stuff, so that's really cool that continuing to improve on each build and seeing kind of where you've grown there.
Yeah. So people are like, oh, how long did it take? I'm like, well, 2 months. It's 2 months of building, right? Build time. But I thought about it in March, and I spent a long time researching what I want to do, why, how I was going to do it, where do I bring it first? You know, who do I release it to in terms of what show, etc. So it's been a lot of thought put into it, and it looks like it was just 2 months, but it's almost a year of, okay, what am I doing here? So. But I aesthetically, I love it myself, and it's got some variances I can change, right? We can continually change the scenes. We could have Disneyland. I have in their first ever half marathon run next year. We can make a running scene that it's got so much to it. So it's very similar. I've watched it with the public to the Quidditch builds that I've had, and last year I was taking that places, and I just didn't enjoy it, but people did. So I kept taking it places. And this is one of those that I've seen people have that same effect of, smile at this, I point at that. There's Stitch on the bridge. There's a dog. Can you find Martin? He's in there somewhere. That looks like you, right? And so, yeah, that's all the reason I really love it. Not necessarily the actual build, but what I see people get out of it. So, yeah.
That's absolutely fantastic. And I know earlier you mentioned, I think you had 12,000 of just one of the plate pieces. Do you know the overall number of pieces at all?
No. Have I ever? 211 pounds is weight. So in the sections that I put it in the car, I weighed it and took away my weight as well, which is heavy, I think, for Lego. I'd love to know what the average piece, and I think the average size piece is probably a 1x2 to a 1x4 size piece. So break that down and figure out how many pieces, but there's lots as normal. The base of this is base plates. There's 250 16x16 base plates at the bottom of this as it goes around. So, and that's my strength and the rigidity of it. So, yeah.
Well, incredible work once again, Martin. So we'll make sure to put a link to your Instagram page that you talked about in the description of the video, and some of the past videos that we've done with Martin as well, so you can see more of his work. Keep up the fantastic work here, and I'd love to see you interacting with all the public at the shows and everything. It's so neat, so thank you.
Cheers, man. Thank you.